Welcome to this 10-step journey on finding Jayden Smith. Step number one. Step number one is in regard to his family home and the story that was orchestrated, created, well planned, well put together, and well thought of by Jayden Smith's aunt. Ladies and gentlemen, the day that Jayden Smith was said to be home in the presence of his aunt, please note, we wish not to call anyone a liar, and we would not call anyone a liar. Step number two in finding Jayden. In step number two, there are at least 3 to 5 things I must make mention of regarding the Mandeville Hospital. 1. There are CCTV cameras at the Mandeville Hospital that can prove the time of arrival and departure of everyone who went to the hospital. Please note, there are ununiformed, or we would say undercover, police officers that work in the Mandeville Hospital. Who was the police officer or officers on duty at the Mandeville Hospital that received information regarding what happened to the child? These persons many a times work through a social worker. And please note, a social worker would also be at the Mandeville Hospital. In step number 3 regarding the Manchester High School is 1. Jayden Smith, we're told someone who seemed to be an adult from his community, if the informant is correct, that he, Jayden Smith, had stayed back at school for Boys Scout. Whether he stayed back at school for Boy Scout or not, how do we have the proof that Jayden stayed back at school or had an intention to stay for Boy Scout? 1. At some point on Friday afternoon, when Jayden did not return home, his aunt made a call. But who did the aunt make the call to? The principal of the school, Mr. Jasford Gabriel. According to the testimony of the aunt, the principal of the school told her Boy Scout was cancelled because of the rain. But I have one question. How often is Boy Scout held at Manchester High School? Who is the person in charge of Boy Scout of the Manchester High School? And what does the person who is in charge of this Boy Scout has to say regarding missing Jayden Smith? Please note, it's only a question. Step 4 in finding Jayden. Jayden was seen at Little Caesar. Little Caesar in Mandeville is a very popular place. And I used to hang out at Little Caesar too, myself, in having some form of social meeting or just for a light snack or a relaxation moment. Wonderful place to be in Mandeville. Little Caesar has CCTV cameras, and I'm sure he was captured on the camera based on the testimony of his friends. Who, as an adult, would have also had a discussion with Jayden Smith regarding what is he doing at Little Caesar. Will Little Caesar release the cameras? I don't think so. Because by now, the investigators would have had a top on that camera or have the copies to the recording. Step number 5. Jayden Smith was seen at Mega Mart. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that Jayden Smith was at Mega Mart based on the information from the family that they had seen and had heard from the appropriate representatives of Mega Mart and had seen the proof that Jayden Smith was indeed at Mega Mart, where he would have, been walking around. They saw the entrance and they saw the exit. There's no doubt about that. But Mega Mart at this moment, we all do believe, if you're following the investigation, would be just a distraction for whoever Jayden Smith was waiting for. Was Jayden Smith really waiting for a cousin? Or was Jayden Smith being led astray by someone who would have used Shanique's name as the cousin that Jayden Smith was waiting for? Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stopped to think for a moment that someone else who knows that Jayden Smith was looking forward to meet his cousin Shanique, knowing that he would have been told from the Thursday night that Shanique is coming into the island on Friday? What if someone distracted Jayden Smith and told him to wait for Shanique at Mega Mart? Have you ever thought of who is the person that told Jayden to wait at Mega Mart? I'm sure it was not Shanique. Questions of who told Jayden Smith to wait at Mega Mart. One thing, though, that can be proven: Jayden Smith is a smart child, and after waiting at Mega Mart for a while, whoever that person was he was waiting for, Jayden Smith would have disappeared before that person arrived. Step number 5. Jayden Smith was seen on Perth Road in the rain after school after leaving Mega Mart. That is a clear, ladies and gentlemen, step in Jayden Smith heading somewhere that Jayden Smith, is familiar with. Therefore, if Jayden Smith was on Perth Road, the only place he could be heading is towards Perth Drive, Perth Estate. Who is it that lives in the Perth Estate area that Jayden Smith would be familiar with? Who is it that lives in the Perth Estate area that Jayden Smith would have had close ties to? And which home in the area had he been to before? Ladies and gentlemen, step number 6. Jayden Smith was seen, we're told, on camera in the Balveni area of Mandeville. Ladies and gentlemen, are you following the steps of Jayden Smith? Jayden Smith would have left school, went to Mart, went to Little Caesar, then was seen on Perth Road. Perth Road leads to Perth Estate, to parts of Waltham, to Balveni Heights, and also as an exiting road to the Hatfield area, which can lead you to Santa Cruz, Perth, or Spurtree, if you want to call it that. But what was Jayden Smith doing in the Balveni area? It was Shanique herself who mentioned on one social media page that someone would have seen Jayden Smith in the Balveni area. Well, if that person saw Jayden Smith in the Balveni area, there could be some truth to that. Because if Jayden Smith was seen at Manchester High School, Mart, Little Caesar, Perth Road, then Balveni Heights, that makes sense. Where is he going and who is he going to? Because Jayden Smith is not going home. He was on his way to somewhere and to someone that he is familiar with. Ladies and gentlemen, is it that Jayden Smith was indeed following the lead of someone that would have told him where to come and where to hide in case he is accused wrongfully and may be in custody of the police for questioning, or social workers, or child development agency? Is it that someone was instructing Jayden to go and hide? Step 7 in finding Jayden, without blaming or personally attacking or accusing anyone of anything, we're just following the steps of Jayden Smith. Jayden Smith's aunt did mention that she made a call to the principal of the Manchester High School in regarding to the Boy Scout if it was held. In response, she would have been told that there was no Boy Scout because of the rain. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we know that by Friday evening, the principal of the Manchester High School, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, would have been aware of the missing child, Jayden Smith, and knowing that he did not return home, are you telling me that the act from the 2004 Child Protection Act, to which the principal of the Manchester High School would have now been informed of and would know of and would now have to put into action? Have you ever paused to know that once the principal of the school heard that something is not normal about one of his child that should have been returned home as a student and has now been a subject of a missing student by the guardian, did you know that the principal of the Manchester High School has within his powers to now kick into gear the 2004 Child Protection Act, where, if it is possible that as a principal, any powers that there be that he would have had to protect the safety of this child, he can now use the act. And which part of the act I'm talking? This is it on your screen, where the Ministry of Education holds the principals accountable regarding the 2004 Database Act. The principal of the Manchester High School would have had access, and still does have access, to Jayden Smith's information. And if he would have got to the file of Jayden Smith, he would have been aware that the Child Development Agency, oh, you didn't hear that, the principal of the Manchester High School must at some point in time had information knowing that the Child Development Agency once, twice, or more than 3 times in the past wanted to take Jayden Smith into state care. And now would have been the perfect opportunity, with Jayden Smith gone missing, for the Child Development or Children Family Protection Service Agency to take Jayden Smith, who was 12 and still would be a subject to Child Development Agency. I'm not saying, but I'm asking, is it that the principal of the Manchester High School would have now sent out an alarm or an alert to a police friend or the police station in regarding the missing child Jayden Smith to launch a search? That's step number 7. Because the principal has within his powers now to make any necessary moves to protect the rights of the child, the safety of the child, and the child life if he knows that the child is in danger. Welcome to step number 8 in finding Jayden Smith. Is it that Jayden Smith had met someone from the Child Protective Services who would have questioned him at the Mandeville Public Hospital and had promised Jayden Smith that they will talk to him more? Or is it that a police officer would have spoken to Jayden Smith and told him they would have talked to him much more? Or is it that someone from the Child Protective Service or Child Development Agency, as you would know it, or a police officer had spoken to Jayden Smith's aunt while they were at the Mandeville Regional Hospital, and knowing or mentioning that they would need to talk to Jayden Smith? But someone would have mentioned to Jayden that he may be the subject of an early questioning by the police or Child Development Agency. And Jayden Smith on his own became fearful and was now looking a way of escape because of fear and what he was told by the informant. Because Jayden would have known much more than a child breaking its femur. It would have been a Jayden Smith reporting on his aunt, reporting on his brother, reporting on his cousin. Is it that Jayden Smith was now put under so much pressure that the poor child, who knows he would tell the truth, was now faced between the rock and the hard beat, as they would say, where he took it upon his own to become a child on the run, looking for someone safe and somewhere safe? Is it that Jayden Smith found consolation in the company of someone from the Boy Scout Association? Let's talk. Ladies and gentlemen, our 8th step in finding Jayden has now led us to zero in our investigation in the Manchester High School Boys Association, Scout Association, to see who is it in the Manchester High School Scout Association that is wise and smart enough that Jayden Smith could find solace, comfort, and even a peace of mind to talk to? Or which teacher or which staff member from the Manchester High School had blown the whistle on saying they saw Jayden Smith on Wesley Road in Mandeville? Can the person who saw Jayden Smith actually come to the public and said, yes, it was Jayden Smith? Or is it that someone at Manchester High School who is keeping Jayden Smith is using Wesley Road, Perth Road, and Balveni Heights as a distraction into where Jayden Smith is? Ladies and gentlemen, for those of us who know Mandeville, if Jayden Smith within a 3 to 5 days period was seen on Perth Road, Balveni Heights, and Wesley Road, Jayden is under the guidance of an adult to distract us, the public. Jayden Smith is alive. Step number 9. In step number 9, we ask the question and would have now led you to the Child Protective Service. Is it when the person that saw Jayden Smith, a staff member of the Manchester High School, when that call was made to the Principal Gabriel, is it that Principal Gabriel, based on his knowledge of the Child Protection Act, based on his knowledge on the Child Database Act or the Information Act, is it that as a principal, he now would have to protect himself based on the information he would have known about Jayden and his family? Is it that the principal would have now found himself in a situation where he, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, had to now call the police at the Mandeville Police Regional Office to give their full support in investigation and quick search in finding Jayden Smith? And if Mr. Principal did it, is it, ladies and gentlemen, that in our step number 9 of Jayden Smith, that there is indeed a good police officer from the Mandeville Police Station that was good enough in his intelligence as an investigator, as a constable, to find Jayden Smith? And when found Jayden Smith, did that officer who found Jayden Smith now brought Jayden Smith along with the principal to the Child Development Agency, the Child Family Protection Service? Who is it? And note, I did not say the principal and a police officer found Jayden. I said, is it a situation that the principal, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, along with an investigator, a constable, or a police from the Manchester Police Station, found Jayden Smith, or a good Samaritan, maybe a resident, found Jayden Smith, made contact to the principal, and the principal now would have to make contact to the Child Development Agency? Because, ladies and gentlemen, never forget, the Child Development Agency or the Child Family Protection Service Agency had an open file for Jayden Smith. The reason why Jayden aunts and uncles or relatives had interest on his father's side for him is because the Child Protective Agency, the Child Development Agency, the Child Family Protective Service Agency had a open file for many years for Jayden Smith. And now this would have been Jayden Smith's last straw, which was now broken because of what happened to the child. And the principal has to protect himself as a principal based on the Information Data Act by making Child Development Agency and the police officers in Area 3 know that the missing child Jayden is now found and can only be at one place, ladies and gentlemen, in the custody or in the presence or in the care of the Children Family Protective Service Agency. Step number 10 in finding Jayden as I close. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe deep in my heart that Jayden Smith is alive. But there is only one person and there is only two agencies that can answer to where Jayden Smith is. The agency is the Child Family Protective Service Agency. Many of you know it as the Child Development Agency. And only the Police Commissioner of Jamaica, Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, I do believe at this moment, can reveal to the Jamaica public where Jayden Smith is. But if I was to take a guess in where Jayden Smith is, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe deep in my heart that Jayden Smith is alive. And if he is anywhere, he would definitely be in state care of the Child Protective Services. But where? That's a hard one to tell, because Jamaica has over 58 residential children homes, all supervised by the government of Jamaica. No one would be stupid enough, which is not a word I like to use, but no one would be unlearned enough to put Jayden Smith at one of those homes in Mandeville. Two things. You would now need to take Jayden Smith to one far, far away, and to one somewhere that not many people notice, that not many people care about, that not many people know of, and one that is secure, one that is safe, and one that has all the amenities, possibilities, and all that is needed for his educational need, because Jayden Smith is a brilliant student. And not just that, ladies and gentlemen, the Child Protective Service, I'm sure, would have the right to choose a family that has all the amenities, a family that has all the privacy, and a family that has what it takes to keep Jayden Smith quiet, hush hush, and silent as he continued to develop into a fine, intelligent, smart, and brilliant young man that may one day become one of Jamaica's finest and greatest leader. The Jayden Smith story is not your normal story. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have much more to hear, much more to know, and much more to be revealed regarding where is Jayden Smith. Child Protective Service, when will we, the Jamaicans, hear from you regarding Jayden Smith? Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake, when will us Jamaicans hear where is Jayden Smith. So for all of you that are planning that march on the 22nd of November, 2025, I can tell you much. Your voice will be heard, but that will not push anyone who has the right to protect Jayden Smith to tell you where Jayden Smith is. It will have to be a court of law that will decide if where Jayden Smith is revealed. But one thing I do know and believe in my heart is that Jayden Smith is alive. And just before I go, I know many of you are waiting to hear the answer to the question I asked, not just once, but 3 times in 3 of my presentations. Who are the rightful parent or guardians of Jayden Smith? Not his biological mother, not his biological father. And remember, I told you, the Prime Minister of Jamaica said it once, a few months ago. Having a birth certificate does not make you a Jamaican. Did you know that Jayden Smith has the possibility of being a foreign student in time to come, or a foreigner in time to come? But for now, follow my 10 steps in finding Jayden Smith. He's alive. I do believe Jayden Smith is alive.